Today, I will tell you the four really important principles of the Hindu life-hand path Tantra I channeled while working with those life-hand path Hindu entities. Those four principles are really important and they are like a sublimation of my practice. The first principle is the principle of nature of the entities. All of the dark and negative entities are composed of destructive energy, which in its purest form causes destruction, obliteration, and change in a violent way. The second principle is that human body is not accustomed to absorb that destructive energy without that energy being refined. Therefore, you have to refine that energy in order to essentially use it effectively. The third principle is principle of non-division. That means that there is no true separation between spiritual and the material world. Since this material world contains large amount of negative energy, by collecting material power and influence, you can collect negative energy which can help you to evolve spiritually, because there is no separation between the two. I am not saying that collecting material wealth and power is the only way to spiritual evolution. What I am saying is that it can be a way to spiritual evolution, especially on the left-hand path, a really potent way. And the fourth principle is this. You will take what you want only because you are stronger than your competition, only because you are stronger than your enemies. Pretty much what this entails is that on the left-hand path, he who has more negative and destructive energy refined within himself lives and wins. He who has less is defeated. You win only because you have more energy, power, and knowledge. And you acquire what you want materially only because you are better, richer, or stronger because of your from your competition. So in this video we will give a short set of practices to be followed by people who want to start working and practicing the Tantric life-hand path tradition from the Hindu perspective. I will here give 3 exercises which are approved by the Iron World Foundation. And first I will essentially in this video explain my approach to working on a Tantric path, how I approach it, why I approach it the way I do, and what is expected of people who desire to practice Tantric path. What one needs to understand is that spiritual development is a process which takes many lifetimes to master, many years, many decades, and even centuries of practice by the initiate in order to be truly understood. Therefore, spiritual path is something which is opposite to instant gratification. Bliss cannot be sold. Bliss cannot be achieved quickly. Bliss is something which can only be achieved through hard work of internal and external engineering and mastery. Therefore, according to the Tantric Ionist teaching, before the initiate starts working with any entities, he needs first to master himself, his mind, his flesh, and develop a certain level of self-understanding. In order to do that, the set of meditative techniques is recommended. Those techniques are designed to prepare the initiate for the deeper trance states necessary for meeting the divine entities and energies. Let me first explain what is trance state. What is the connection between trance state and mental illness? What is the difference between revelation and mental illness? And how one can essentially understand that he is or is not in trance. Trance, aka the alternative state of mind, is commonly referred to in psychological circles as a REM state. It's a state in which our brainwaves function in alternative manner. Our rational mind is subsided and our subconscious mind becomes approachable. One who studies modern psychological theories of the universe understands that individual subconscious of human being is connected to the collective subconscious of mankind, which is infinite in scale. The only thing we know is that collective subconscious exists because we observed it in psychology through the study of archetypes and other interesting psychological phenomena such as dreams, synchronicities, artistic expressions, psychedelic experiences. All of those phenomena proved the existence of collective subconscious. Here we will talk about only things which essentially can be proven or explained to more modernist rational audience. In this specific course, we will avoid using the words such as gods or demons or spirits, because those terms are difficult to understand for modern man, and this is meant for beginners, for people who are simply interested in essentially learning how to master their own mind in order to prepare for the more advanced workings. So, before you start any serious spiritual work or work with your subconscious, depending on from which perspective you view spirituality, you need to master your mind and body first, to a certain degree. So first we will show you a set of really basic meditations and visualizations and how to perform them in order to attune your mind to enter the trance state effectively. All of the methodologies presented within this video will not be extremely intense, but they will be safe to use and they have minimal negative side effects. Almost none. I purposefully chose the safest techniques for this exact reason. One needs to use only lightest and safest methods when mastering his own mind first, in order to prevent early trauma in the alternate state of consciousness, which can damage the consciousness irreparably. Now, we will explain, once we explain what is the trance and what is the alternative state of consciousness, what are the stages of trance? What are the stages of REM state, theta state, alternative stage of consciousness? So I divided trance in 7 stages. But essentially, we will only talk about first 4 stages. So the first stage of trance is simply heightened basic senses, heightened sight, heightened hearing, heightened feeling of touch, smell, heightened attention with extreme focus. The first stage of trance is characterized by sensitivity on external stimuli. So you all of a sudden start hearing much more intense sounds, much more intense lights, etc. Everything becomes much more intense. The second stage of trance is when you essentially start feeling pressure in your own body on different points. You become aware of the blood flow. You become aware of the breathing. You become aware of your internal processes within the body. The second stage of trance is usually characterized and reached through different forms of meditation. The third stage of trance is essentially where shit starts hitting a little bit higher level. You start feeling energies. You start hearing voices from the aspect of yourself or certain intelligences around. You start seeing colors. You start essentially hearing extremely intense sounds. You start perceiving things in a completely different way, and your senses start working completely differently. The fourth stage of trance is where you essentially have a full-blown connection to the universe. You lose the feeling of the isolated self. You feel connected to everything, and essentially you lose the mundane observation of your own consciousness partially. It's never complete. It's always partial. So those are first 4 stages. In none of those first 4 stages, something like physical materialization of the spirits or physical touch by the spirits happens. What happens there is beyond those first 4 stages. So between the third and the 4th stage of trance, there is sometimes, especially in deeper meditation, something which happens occasionally, and that is that you completely kind of lose control of your body and you cannot move your body. And this is usually a state which people experience during sleep paralysis. So what happens during sleep paralysis is that people lose essentially connection to themselves. They lose feeling of their own individuality, but instead of being overwhelmed with joy and peace in that trance, they are usually confronted with their own negative energy and they cannot deal with it. So they are in between stage 2 and 3, no, in between stages 3 and 4 of the trance, and they are also overwhelmed with their negative energy, so they are stuck in that state. The reason why I am explaining this is people need to know what are the stages of trance in order to recognize when they are in trance. So for example, you are meditating, you are contemplating on a yantra, and you all of a sudden have essentially heightened senses, heightened feeling of hearing, heightened reaction to the light, heightened touch. It means you are in the first stage of trance. All of a sudden, you become aware of your blood flow. Sensations are much calmer and stronger in a way. You are in a second stage of trance. Then you all of a sudden start feeling slight energies, pressure in different parts of the body from the energies. You are in the third stage of trance. And then essentially you kind of lose control of your body for a few seconds, and then you enter the stage 4. So the reason why I set this up is a lot of people enter the trance, but they don't know that they are in trance, and so they think they aren't, and they essentially damage their own psyches in a way. And a lot of people, when they enter trance, they do a lot of damn shit and they don't know that they are in trance, so they don't know how to manage themselves. And I gave elaborate explanation of trance stages and trance states because I heard nobody else on the YouTube in this left-hand pathological community talking about stages of trance, so I thought that this had to be explained. Now, when we explain the stages of trance, we will give you the exercises. So essentially, after we explained the stages of trance, it is time for us in this video to actually explain to you 2 beginner level exercises, which are really useful for beginners and beginner level practitioners and 100% safe. So out of all of the playad of exercises I filmed for this channel, those 2 exercises are by far the safest for beginners. So the first exercise is Atravana Yantra and Mantra meditation, which was presented multiple times in multiple videos on the channel, but this time I will present a specific version of the exercise which is safest for beginners. So essentially you see yantra on the screen right now and you should vibrate Kondalviyan, 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 Kondalviyan over and over again. While you vibrate, put the yantra in front of your eyes and visualize and essentially focus on the blue energy coming out of yantra. Do it for about 15 minutes until you feel blue energy coming out of yantra. Then start breathing in the blue energy. Through this entire process, don't focus on a specific lines on the yantra while you are chanting. Simply put it in front of your eyes. Visualize blue energy coming out of it. After you feel it coming out of the yantra, breathe in the energy. And after the energy fills your aura, go to the next part of the exercise. So after you completed the step 2, go to step 3. Now you will see on the screen the image of the Hindu moon god Chandra Nada. He is a god of moon, psychic abilities, hidden knowledge, wisdom, protection. He can bring wealth and spiritual insight. So really powerful deity, and he is a luminary spirit which is approached in a Hindu lifetime path. So he is our equivalent to the sun god in the right hand path, Hindu traditions. They give enormous reverence to the Surya or the sun god, while we give enormous reverence to the Chandra Nada or the moon god. So this is pretty simple. In order to connect with Chandra Nada, what you should do is sit calmly in a meditative posture and cross your hands on your knees. You can even sit on a couch, you don't have to be in a meditative posture. Simply cross your hands on your knees, close your eyes, and visualize this image of Chandranada in front of you, radiating into you the calming and compassionate rays of the moon. Do it for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. After 10 to 15 minutes of this visualization, what you should do is open your eyes, thank Chandranada for being there, and stand up, take a shower, and go through your day. I explained you the stages of trance in the beginning for a reason. During your visualizations, if you feel any weird energy anomaly, if you feel any weird pressure, change of the temperature in the room, a slight sensation in the body, that means that the entity is there and that you have entered one of the stages of trance, or that the energy you are trying to present is there and you have entered one of the stages of trance. I hope this video clarified many misconceptions and many questions beginners had about spiritual practice. Talk to you soon, guys, and thanks for watching. And remember that spirituality is something you should approach step by step and gradually develop. Taking dangerous shortcuts can bring you to a mental breakdown and destroy your psyche and soul. So, build regular devotion, build regular spiritual practice, and your faculties and ability to manifest reality will slowly open, and you will manifest your goals. Thank you, guys, and talk to you soon. So today we are going to continue publishing tantric videos for you guys. So this video will be a little bit controversial and a little bit dangerous, so I need to kill some of the sacred cows in the occult community and say that, contrary to the popular belief, there are such places as hell and heaven in Hinduism, However, those places are defined differently and perspective is different. But you have demons in Hinduism and you have gods in Hinduism, aka you have positive and negative entities. And I need to explain the theory between positive and negative entities and positive and negative worlds in order for you guys to be able to understand what you are actually dealing with in this video. What is this yantra, what it means, what it does, and how to work with it. So, there is a cosmological system in Hinduism, especially within Ayani tradition, which states that there are ultimate and infinite number of dimensions, an ultimate and infinite number of beings. All of those ultimate dimensions and beings, which are infinite in number, are manifestations and incarnations of one supreme principle known as the Brahman. The human soul is also a manifestation and incarnation of the Brahman, and the goal of the human soul is to connect with the Brahman, because Brahman is essentially the source of all existence, but he is also the existence itself. I need to point out that there is a difference, fundamental theological difference, between Brahma, Hindu god, and Brahman as a principle. Brahma as a Hindu god is only one incarnation of the Brahman. Brahman is all existence, source of all existence, and the origin of everything. While the Brahma, the Hindu god Brahma, is only one incarnation, one manifestation of the Brahman. So, there are two most common ways of approaching the Brahman according to the Hindu tradition. One is right hand path, which seeks to approach the Brahman through positive energy. And another is the left hand path, which seeks to approach the Brahman and connect with the Brahman and acknowledge the Brahman through negative energy. I purposefully use the words positive and negative here as that because there is no such a thing as good and evil in Ayanist tradition. So destructive entities are commonly referred to asuras or demons. Creative entities are commonly referred to as devas or gods. However, there are some really destructive devas, while there are some really creative asuras. So, what defines asuras as asuras is that they are mostly composed from negative energy, while devas are mostly composed from positive energy. We, as left hand path practitioners, work mostly with extremely destructive and fierce forms of the devas and asuras. So we approach Brahman through more destructive, heterodox means, which are outside of traditional confines of Orthodox Hindu practice. According to the Hindu Ayanist tradition, there is infinite amount of negative worlds, which are worlds filled with dark energy. Those worlds are commonly referred as Talas. Theological equivalent of those negative dimensions in Hinduism are hells in Christianity. However, cosmological difference between Hinduism and Christianity exists, and so those hells, those negative dimensions, are seen in different light. Within the Christian theological framework, the hells are observed as something evil, as something dark, and as something spiritual seekers should seek to avoid and run away from. However, within Tantric Hindu life-hand path tradition, those hells, those negative dimensions, are seen as downward ladder, which when used can serve as a means of connection to the Brahman, aka all. Those dimensions are extremely dangerous and difficult to travel into, and they are not for everybody. However, there are souls who are spiritually attuned to the left-hand path who want to merge with Brahman through destructive energy and destructive actions and heterodox means. And for them, this knowledge is created. So, what is the yantra on the screen and what is the meaning of the yantra of the screen? This yantra is a gateway into Karopaniyal Tala, Karopaniyal negative space. It is a negative space which represents a crossroads of sorts. It represents a form of a hybrid dimension between the first negative world and our world. So it is a form of crossroads between infinite amount of negative dimensions and our physical reality. All of the negative dimensions in the Hindu cosmology are in one way or the other connected to Karopaniyal Tala, to Karopaniyal negative space. So it is also a really good initiatory practice to become resonantly attuned to this Tala space, to this negative dimension. There are, however, theological differences in how this specific dimension is observed. Some people believe that this dimension is clearly separate from the physical world, in a way, while other people will believe that Karopaniyal Tala is actually part of this world, aka that this world is part of Karopaniyal Tala. So, who inhabits the Karopaniyal Tala? Karopaniyal Tala, or Karopaniyal negative space, is inhabited by demons from all negative realities within the Hindu cosmology. It is a form of crossroads. However, spirits within this space are kinda selected and cherry-picked to be good for beginners in the Tantric path. So if you are meant for this path, the spirits who are good for you as a beginner will come through this negative energy and negative space and approach you. Now, after we explained what are talas, what are negative spaces, what are ashuras, what is the left-hand path, we will talk about how to practically utilize this yantra. So this should be done in complete darkness, without any electronic light, during the night, preferably at 2 a.m. Traditional Ayanist scripture states that you should inscribe this on your body or on the ground, weight the ash from the cremation field, or charcoal stick. However, because majority of this audience of this channel doesn't have means to draw with charcoal on the ground or use cremation ash, we will stick with drawing the yantra on the piece of paper. While you draw the yantra, you should vibrate Karopaniyal, Karopaniyal, Karopaniyal. Once you draw the yantra, as you see it on the screen, you should put the yantra in front of your eyes and simply look into the direction of the yantra while repeating Karopaniyal, 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 and then call spirits of the Karopaniyal to come to you and merge with you. What I mean by merging is those entities will slowly, during every ritual you perform, merge with your consciousness and attune you to negative energy and prepare you for walking the Tantric path. That will be extremely beneficial for you as an individual if you want to travel lifetime path. There is no safer and more beneficial practice for beginners in Tantric practice, in lifetime path practice, I found so far. This is the most beneficial information for beginners I found. So you repeat Karopaniyal, you look into the direction of the yantra, and after some time, it varies from practitioner to practitioner. The negative energy will start radiating from the yantra and coming to you. It can manifest as heat, it can manifest as pressure, it can manifest as heaviness or form of euphoria. Simply keep chanting until you feel the energy flow. And then if your ritual doesn't have only spiritual means and spiritual goals, you can ask from the spirits of Karopaniyal financial gain. Ritual should be repeated multiple times every night until you get the request you desire. You should say that you want to merge with the entities, and in return you will get what you want after certain amount of ritual repetitions. How many repetitions you need to manifest your request depends on your spiritual resonance with the Karopaniyal space, as well as the magnitude of your request. So this is designed in such a way to work for everyone. If you merge with those spirits every single night and state them your request, after certain amount of ritual repetitions, the request will manifest. However, there is a little quirk to this I need to warn you about. So spirits requested from me and in this video that I should say everyone to try to merge with those entities, and I will say what it means. So the merging essentially means that those spirits will fuse with your body, soul and mind, and it will not be a possession, nor it will be invocation. It will be something else entirely. It will be complete merging of your consciousness and the consciousness of those entities. So every time you do this ritual, you are essentially merging with hordes of demonic legions which inhabit this space. Once you start this process, it is irreversible process and it cannot be stopped. Therefore, to all aspiring tantric adepts, I will say only this. Ritual presented here is extremely powerful if you do it according to the instructions. And if you keep repeating it every night, you can do whatever you want. You can achieve whatever you want. But once you start this process, you cannot stop it, or shit will hit the fan. Those entities will make sure that you keep returning to the path and that you keep merging with them. They will not allow you to go astray. And I am really, really serious about this warning. So, if you want to do something with these spirits without necessarily getting anything crazy in return, or being bound to this path, you can call those entities, you can call their energies and tell them that you don't want to merge, that you only want a particular thing, and then you need to offer them in return some life force of yours or some offerings, and they will do and fulfill your request corresponding to the essentially the amount of life force you gave them. But if you decide to merge with them, you will get whatever you want as long as you continue the merging process. Today we will have an elaborate discussion about really powerful tantric adept Ayani Chudarmanian Atravana, the old tantric sorceress, who is one of the key figures in the left-hand path Hindu lore. In order to explain who Atravana is, we need to go a little bit into Hindu Dravidian legends and talk again about Kalyan incident. Essentially, according to the Kalyan histories and Indian legends, about 15,000 years ago, powerful Indian emperor wanted to link with the source by force using techniques of the left-hand path. There were two really powerful high priests among others who were really powerful, and their names were Lavalier and Chudarmani and Atravana. They were husband and wife or partners, and they were tasked with devising a plan for the emperor to merge with the Brahman by force, using the techniques of the left-hand path. And they indeed obeyed the command of the emperor and decided to call 4 really powerful negative entities, dark entities, in order to help the emperor to link with the Brahman by force. Those 4 negative entities were Vinayakadantin, the shadow form of Ganesh, Asura Kalanemi, the demonic lord of time in the Hindu lore, Kali, and Shiva. And also, in some versions, Raksha Silankini as well participated in the ritual. So, those 2 really powerful mages, with the help of other really powerful tantric adepts, call those negative entities. When I say negative, I mean destructive. I don't mean evil or bad. So they called Kali and Shiva in negative aspects, and they called other negative entities I listed, together with other adepts, and they performed a mass human sacrifice. Unfortunately, ritual known as the Great Kalyan Rite or the Kalyan Incident didn't succeed because the emperor himself, from what I got, didn't respect proper procedures. He didn't wanted to sacrifice himself, and the rite failed. So, as a result, of that pretty much the world was saturated with enormous amount of negative energy, and the entire Hindu Dravidian civilization collapsed. However, as a consequence of that right, certain individuals who are resonant with that ritual, who resonate with what happened in the past, and who partially participated in it during their previous incarnations, received great amount of affinity to negative energy. And this is actually, I think, the real reason why this rite was allowed. Because this rite, in a really long-term manner, changed the world and allowed the Tantric adepts, left-hand path adepts, to return to the memories of theirs, to the memories of the Kalyan incident, and harness that negative energy for their own evolution in the left-hand path. So, to elaborate, Atravana, Chudarmani and Atravana, was one of the two high priests who were instrumental in the incident. Another was Lavalier and Gatissaman, and I already covered Gatissaman on this channel, so now we will talk about Atravana in greater detail. The yantra you see on the screen is the yantra of Chudarmanian Atravana. And first, before explaining what and how to summon Chudarmanian Atravana, we should explain what is Chudarmanian Atravana good for. So from my experience, Atravana is good for 4 different things. She is good for money manifestation, psychic abilities development, attunement to the current of death, and the deep tantric mysteries, in such a way that they are essentially adapted to the lower level practitioner. So Atravana is a really good initiator. Now, from the dimensional point of view, Atravana is attuned to the boot Tala. Now, the boot Tala is the negative realm of violent, restless ghosts. Violent, restless undead. And so, now when we know all of this, we can essentially explain some of the ways to connect to Atravana and how to work with her. When we cleared who Atravana is and what she is good for, we will discuss how to summon her and how to build up a relationship with her. This advice given here will be dangerous and controversial in some aspects, and I am saying what spirits told me to say. I am not responsible for your fuck ups, or essentially, I am not responsible if you fuck your life with this. I will tell you how to do this safely, in a way which will not fuck you over. And if you break the instructions and fuck the things up, that's not my problem. So, pretty much, summoning Atravana is extremely simple. She is really easy to summon. So, after the sun sets, the best time to summon her is around 2 a.m. Or some tantric schools claim that the best time to summon her is actually 3 a.m. because of the specific astrological correspondences of 3 a.m. in Vedic astrology. So, the best time for summoning her are 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. But if you cannot summon her at those dates, the only important thing is that the sun have set completely for those initial summonings. After you build up the really strong relationship with her, then you will be able to do it during the day. But if you don't have strong relationship with her, then summon her during the night, preferably 3 a.m. Less preferable is 2 a.m. And if you cannot catch any of those hours, then any night hour where the sun is completely set is acceptable. The reason why this is the case is because the radiance of the sun greatly diminishes resonance with the Talic realms, with the lower realms. So now, let me explain how to connect with Atravana. So you see a yantra on the screen. You should draw the yantra on the screen on the piece of paper at 3 a.m. in a room with really small light and chant Ayani Chudarmanian Atravana over and over again. Chant while you draw the yantra and also chant while you look at the yantra. Now, how to look at the yantra? Just look in a direction of the yantra without focusing on specific symbols. Chant over and over. Don't be discouraged. Simply relax and chant until you feel the shift in the room, the presence in the room. It will be the sign that Atravana is there. Don't be discouraged to try multiple times if the first time it doesn't work. Some people are less resonant with certain spirits than others. Ayanism, especially Tantric Ayanism, is about discipline and about willingness to confront the dark and to try hard. Now, there are few pieces of advice which I will give, which differ from some things said by the Ayan World Foundation. My stance is after you establish the contact with Atravana, the initial contact, so after you summon her and after you feel the shift in the room, my advice is not to summon her every night, but to summon her at maximum 2 times a week for a year. And every time you summon her, you will tell her that you want to merge with her on a tantric level, on a deep spiritual level. Now I need to elaborate that those tantric entities you are summoning, they want to merge with us in order to experience the material world and enlighten us. That is their goal. Because the main tantric principle is reaching the Brahman through the material world. It is reaching the Brahman, reaching the all through negative energy, and since this material world is mostly comprised of negative energy, tantric path is essentially about reaching the Brahman through the material world. Now, there is one specific note on this. Once you start merging with these spirits, you can merge with the positive spirits as well. However, if you are a radical tantric practitioner like me, then if you try to merge with positive spirits, it will have a backlash. So if you want to merge with both positive and negative, my advice is to start merging with positive and negative simultaneously immediately. So start merging with positive and negative at the same time, in a way that you will at the same day start to merge with positive entities during the day and negative entities during the night. And you do it simultaneously pretty much every day. If you want to work with only positive entities, merge only with positive entities every day during the day. If you want to work with negative entities, merge only with negative entities during the night. But for Atravana specifically, she is skilled in both opening positive and negative dimensions. So Atravana is negative, but she is not necessarily incompatible for work with positive entities. She is also good for prophecy, and there is also one other thing I need to add, which is that one of the best ways to merge with Atravana is to technically sacrifice piece of your aura and piece of your soul to the boot realm, to the realm of the restless goats Atravana resides. And that's a really potent way to merge with her long term. Now, there is another piece of advice I want to give. So, merge with her only 2 times a week. And if you want to exacerbate the connection, offer her a little piece of your energy and seal it with the boot Tala. Now, what I need to say is this. So there is a way of connecting with Atravana, which will obviously maybe be a little bad taste for people who are not hardcore tantric practitioners. There are actually 2 ways. So, and both of those ways are essentially done after you achieve the great degree of resonance with negative spirits. Now, let me elaborate once again. You summon Atravana at 3 a.m. by drawing the yantra you see on the screen and chanting Ayani Chudarmani and Atravana. After you finish drawing the yantra, keep chanting and look into the direction of the yantra without focusing on a specific detail until you feel shift in the energy. Don't be discouraged if you don't succeed on the first try. Keep doing it. Over the time you will become more resonant and you will succeed in your linking with Atravana. After you summon her, you can ask her for increase of wealth, opening of psychic abilities, attunement to both Tala, spiritual knowledge and mysteries, knowledge of both positive and negative dimensions, and you can also ask her about seeing the future. There is one last note. The best way to pay them is to allow them to merge with us, to fuse with us on a deep spiritual level and remain with us. It is essentially what they want. And as I explained previously, they want it because the main principle of the Tantric path is reaching the Brahman through the material world. Because this material world is mostly comprised of negative energy to great extent, and essentially you absorb negative energy through having experiences in the material. That's the reason why those tantric entities demand you to have certain material experiences in physical world. So, one last note is this. You can connect to Atravana through masturbation and sexual rights. This is not obligatory, but this is possible. You draw Atravana's yantra, you presence her energy, and then you chant her name and sexually relieve yourself. Then she absorbs that energy and merges with you through that energy. That's possible. Another piece of advice I want to give is this. There is a specific way of healing people with Atravana's help. This is dangerous, however, it is really effective. So, you pretty much do the following. You inscribe Atravana's yantra on your body, either with the finger or with some form of paint, and then you chant her name and open her realm on your body, literally. Then you lay your hand on a person you want to heal, and with your left hand, you literally drain and absorb all of the negative energy from the person by focusing on draining that negativity, and you put it into the yantra which is on your body. Then, after that happens, you draw the yantra in front of you, the same yantra you will see on the screen. You summon Atravana, and then you tell her to attune you to the negative energy absorbed, so you can thrive off that energy. It is a really simple yet powerful but risky method, because if you absorb too much negative energy and don't attune to that, you can have problems. But from my personal experience, this does work on people. It has positive effects on them, because you remove the negative energy from them and you put them on yourself, and then you summon another negative entity from the both Tala, which is Atravana, to refine that energy. So, today we are going to talk about a powerful figure from Tantric history. A spirit with whom I work not for a long time, but who became really quickly dear to my heart. He was one of the entities who first approached me on my tantric journey into Abhichara, but he was the one I called least often until recently. Today we are going to talk about Lavalier, the Ionic high priest of old Kalyan Dravidian civilization. According to the old Dravidian texts, in a now sunken part of India, which is now underwater, long ago existed the ancient Dravidian Kalyan civilization. Within that civilization lived spiritually evolved people who pretty quickly discovered, through the aid of Murugan Ayan, the incarnation of the one of the Hindu gods, how to open the gateways between different celestial and underworld realms and communicate with the spirits there. They communicated with those spirits through use of ancient Dravidian technology of yantras. They inscribed certain symbols, combined them with certain mantras, scribed into those symbols, and through use of the mantras and yantras, they managed to open gateways into other realms. Murugan Ayan incarnated many times in order to guide the old Dravidians in the science of linking and communicating with the different beings from celestial and underworld realms. In Dravidian Ayanism, there is no good and evil. There is only positive and negative. So, for thousands and thousands of years, the old Dravidians communicated with the gods and with asuras, with the entities of heaven and underworld, and they accumulated the great knowledge. Murugan Ayan also taught the Dravidians many secrets, because back in the day, according to the old Dravidian teaching, there was no such a strong veil between the worlds. Veil was much weaker or even non-existent during the long ages. So Murugan incarnated regularly to communicate with humans and teach them sciences. Kalyans, Dravidians, they became really powerful. They developed many technologies for which we do not have equivalent right now. They became a really spiritually and technologically advanced civilization. And when civilization of their power reached peak, certain really powerful and spiritually gifted individual was born. His name was Lavalier. He was attuned to both celestial and infernal realms. But he was what we call today a left-hand path-oriented individual. He believed that connection with the Brahman is easier to achieve through destruction. Therefore, he heavily worked with destructive and negative entities, such as pretas, bhuts, pishachas, asuras, and other beings of the underworld. Alongside his assistant, Atravana, he became really powerful, and he studied to great length science of unifying with the Brahman oneness through destructive means. Gatisaman, because of his sorcerer's knowledge, became one of the key advisors to the Kalyan emperor, and he accumulated great political power. So, when he reached such a power, Gatisaman finally started moving into motion his plan. It is not clear, did he receive his plan from his own head, or he received the plan as instruction from Murugan, or from Shiva Kalabhairav. What is known in the Ayanist scripture is that Gatisaman had certain vision in mind. He wanted to unify all of the Dravidian schools of thought under one banner and perform a great ritual. A ritual which will unify the Kalyan emperor with the Brahman directly, and in this way create a living barrier between king and the source of all creation. He will create a living link between king and the source of creation, so that Kalyans can be ruled by the source of creation himself and usher the new unprecedented infinite golden age, which will have no ending. That was the plan of Lavalier and Gatisaman. So he started moving his plan into motion. He raised the armies of the Kalyan emperor and started forcefully unifying all of the Ayanist schools of thought, all of the Ayanist factions and fractions under one banner. Because according to the Ayanist scripture, the Dravidians, the Kalyans, they had the emperor, but a lot of people within the empire believed in different schools of thought than Lavalier, and they were not Tantrics. They had their own visions of spirituality. So they had certain autonomy, and they didn't wanted to participate in the great Kalyan rite. But Gatisaman didn't listen to it. He wanted to perform ritual. He wanted to perform the rite. So he raised the armies and attacked, and in many instances slaughtered all of those who opposed him and his rite. And the day came when all of the Dravidian lands were unified under Gatisaman and the emperor, and the great rite was performed. Gatisaman, alongside his sorcerers and his assistant Atravana, called Ashura Kalanemi, Shiva Kalabhairav, Kali Devi, and he also called Pishacha Mayalakan, in order to facilitate the great Kalyan ritual. He used the energy of those four powerful entities alongside numerous power of many sorcerers, as well as large amount of human sacrifices, which was uncountable, in order to link the emperor to the Brahman directly through the rites of the left-hand path. Unfortunately, what happened as a result was not what Gatisaman expected to happen. Through the power of Shiva Kalabhairav, the ritual didn't bring connection of the emperor to the Brahman. What ritual brought forth was the cataclysmic destruction of the Ionic civilization, of the old Kalyan Empire, and obliteration of the majority of people who lived within the empire. This was known in the Dravidian scripture as a Kalyan incident. In a weird and sinister way, Gatisaman succeeded, because it doesn't matter what we do. In the moment of death, for a second, we merge with the Brahman. So Gatisaman succeeded in a sinister way. He also brought forth the great Tantric knowledge of the Abhichara school. His soul can be summoned forth through utilization of the yantra you see right now on the screen. However, there is a reason why this story is recorded in such a way. Many people even today who are tantrics and agoris and mantrics venerate Gatisaman as an example of great statesman, sorcerer, politician and a visionary. But however, it cannot be denied that Gatisaman definitely had some pretty interesting flaws in his character. He was self-centered in his philosophy, too confident, let's say honestly, prideful. He was unwilling to hear the advice of others. That can be said to be his main flaw, and he was also really intolerant individual. In many ways he was a megalomaniac, but it doesn't mean that we cannot benefit from his knowledge. It doesn't mean that merging with Mayalakan or with Gatisaman cannot bring enlightenment. It can bring enlightenment. Merging with Gatisaman in a tantric way is one of the most potent experiences I had. However, working with Gatisaman is really risky, because when you merge with Gatisaman, you absorb the parts of his character. You absorb his cataclysmic philosophy, which ended the entire era, which ended the entire civilization. Gatisaman is one of the most powerful saints of the left-hand path you can conjure. But he is also one of the riskiest to summon. Not because the power of his spirit, but because of the knowledge he wields and the way he directs his initiates to use that knowledge. So today I will talk about how to summon Lavalier Gatisaman. You see yantra on the screen right now. Use this yantra, scry into it, and recite a chant. Ayani Lavalier Gatisaman over and over again. Ayani Lavalier Gatisaman. Ayani Lavalier Gatisaman. Until Gatisaman arrives, until you feel his presence in the room with you. There is one benefit of this yantra technology. It is that those yantras, as you can see, are extremely detailed. Therefore, if you use Hindu Ayanista Bichara technology to summon negative spirits, there is no need for questioning did the right spirits appear, because yantras are designed in such a way that probability for wrong spirit to appear is really small. Gatisaman will arrive. What you will probably comprehend is a ghostly figure of a Hindu scholar with a black turban, dressed in black cloth, holding a scroll of knowledge. This is how he appeared to me. Gatisaman, when you first summon him, will not speak a lot. He will not reveal a lot of his secrets. But through working with him, I discovered a way for him to reveal a little deeper mysteries of his knowledge. You see, Gatisaman is a preta. It means a hungry ghost. What it means for us, the left-hand oriented tantrics? Well, on the left-hand path, we unify with the Brahman through destroying the infinite astral realities which stand in front of the Brahman and us. So, from the right-hand path perspective, Gatisaman is a fallen, hungry ghost. But from the left-hand path perspective, he is elevated rishi of the left-hand path. He is elevated sage. And his state of increased destruction is actually the state of holiness for us. Because in that elevated state of the destructive hungry ghost, he is more capable of destroying on our behalf the infinite realities which stand between Brahman and us as tantrics. So, in order to activate that destructive aspect of Gatisaman, to work on our behalf and elevate us through destroying the infinite realities between Brahman and us, we need to accept that Lavalier Gatisaman will be harsh teacher. What I am suggesting in this video is not in any means safe. Therefore, use the technique of this video with the caution in mind. Gatisaman can be used to bring money. He can be used to bring wealth. He can be used to bring power. But that's not the subject of this video. If you want that, simply summon him through repetition of chant I already gave with the blessing of Guru Daval from the Ayan World Foundation. I want to thank Guru Daval for giving us all of this information. And I want you all to check the links in the description of this video and subscribe to Ayan World Foundation Patreon. I am not associated with the Patreon in any way, so I am not getting any money from your subscriptions. But this is my way of thanking Guru Daval and the Ayan World Foundation through inviting people to check their channel and their Patreon. So Gatisaman can bring money. He can bring wealth and power, but that's not what he is there for. His main purpose is to guide us on the left-hand path to Brahman, as elevated saint of that tradition, as elevated master, who will guide us on this sinister path to enlightenment and union with the source of all creation. In order for us to do that, we need to awaken the predatory nature of Lavalier and Gatissaman. And there is one really simple way of doing so. When Gatissaman appears in front of you, or when you feel his presence undeniably in the room with you, tell him that you want to merge with him, so that you can realize the Brahman on the left-hand path and connect to the left-hand aspect of the Brahman, to the destructive aspect of the all. Gatissaman will indeed, from the point of this pronunciation and statement, start merging with you. He will attach to your aura and then he will start entering your body. Every time you request merging, he will merge with you to an extent you can handle, because Gatissaman is aware of limitations of human condition, and he is also aware that if he pushed in us too much power and too much energy, we would go insane. But because Gatissaman is our ancient teacher from the forgotten past, he actually cares about his students. But he cares for them in a really harsh way. Well, when the merging starts and when you feel him merging with you, what you need to do is you need to do a form of a bloodletting. Or if you cannot draw blood, then you simply proclaim the following: I offer you my prana, my life force energy, Lavalier and Gatissaman, to feed your eternal hunger, and in return you will do all in your might to merge me with the left-hand aspect of the Brahman, and make me realize enlightenment through the left-hand path. Then Lavalier and Gatissaman will start to vampirize you, and he will start to drain your prana, to drain your life force energy. His presence will explode in intensity, and you will withstand pretty intense experience. When I say withstand, I mean that he will adapt himself to you. He will never take more energy than you can handle. He will never give more intense experience than you can handle. And he will never try to murder you or make you insane on purpose. However, experience will be really intense. Gatissaman will teach you many things, but I need to say that his mysteries are really difficult to master. Easy to learn, but difficult to master. When the session finishes, thank Gatissaman, and as his energy dissipates, breathe slowly until his energy resonance disappears. Then go and enjoy your sleep, because this ritual should be done at night, preferably at 2 a.m. However, if you are really unable to do it at 2 a.m., you should do it any night hour, but 2 a.m. is ideal. Thank you for watching, and use the advanced methods of this video, or I will not say advanced, that's egotistical, but use risky methods of this video with full awareness that you are responsible for the outcome. I am simply here to introduce you to an idea. I am not here to be responsible for your well-being. However, if you don't want to merge with Gatissaman, and if you don't want to feed him in this way, you can simply summon him normally and ask him for money, power, and other stuff. But I wanted to share this because I had a really strong internal urge to do so. Thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow.